What is going on, guys? Welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to discuss whether you can lose fat and build muscle at the same time. Most people think you need a huge surplus to put muscle on, also a calorie deficit to lose weight, but this is not always the case. Stay tuned to find out more. Just over a year ago, I did a very similar video on how you can build muscle at maintenance calories. You can watch that by clicking above or going to the description below. I've dropped the video link there as well. But I thought I'd do a more up-to-date version, also a more in-depth version of how you can exactly do this, build muscle and lose fat at the same time, and who it applies to as well. So let's start by just I'm gonna say how it is, debunking a myth. You've got to eat big to get big. So that's true to a point, but more calories beyond a certain point, beyond what you need to build muscle, does not equal more muscle. It actually equals more fat. So by doing it in traditional bulk, you will likely gain muscle faster, but you'll gain a lot of fat at the same time as well. It's likely going to be 50-50, or it might even be more in favor of fat than muscle. Trust me, I've been there and done that, and I regretted it. Or you can do the method I'm going to discuss in this video, a body recomposition, when you can lose fat and build muscle at the exact same time. Let's start just by looking at what it takes to build muscle. So 1 kilogram of muscle is 1,800 calories. But to build that kilogram of muscle, it takes around 5,940 calories extra. So that's around, over the course of a month, that's around 200 extra calories a day. Obviously, you're probably thinking, well, I'm thinking, that's a lot smaller than what a lot of people recommend. But that's what it takes in the majority of people. Some people will need way more, some people will need less. But anyway, that's just roughly on average. And 1 kilogram of fat stored is around 7,700 calories. So you're probably thinking, who does this apply to? Who can do a body recomposition? So you're looking at new lifters. New lifters can do body recomposition. You're very sensitive to the stimulus, the training stimulus. So you're going to build muscle like with less effort than you are when you're trained. But this also does apply to people that have been training, let's say 7+ years, but have never put maximum effort in. You're probably still going to experience more or less newbie gains if you haven't, like, haven't put a lot of effort into the building muscle process. So bear that in mind, you don't have to be brand new. And if you're overweight also, you can benefit from body recomposition. You've got a lot of stored energy in the form of stored body fat, so you can utilize that to fuel muscle growth, obviously providing that your training stimulus is. We'll get into what you need to do the body recomposition successfully later on. And also, if you're detrained, like you're coming off the back of an injury, you haven't trained, say work life got busy and you haven't trained for say 2 years, but at one point you were pretty jacked, then you can benefit from a body recomposition. Also, I don't want to promote this in any way, I'm not promoting it in any way, but if you take steroids, you can benefit from a body recomposition, so building muscle and losing fat at the same time. In 2020, Chris Barakat looked at the research available on body recompositions and actually found that, that's Chris Barakat et al. So there was a few people looking at the study. I'll put the study should be on the screen and will be in the description below. So he found that actually trained individuals also can benefit out of body recomposition, provided that the necessary stimulus and the necessary support around that, we'll get into that a bit later on, is met. And let's just say majority of the people, probably you watching this, can benefit out of a body recomposition.
You talking to me? Talking to me? I'm a hurricane, I'm bringing thunder and rain.
You're probably wondering, how do I do this? Let's start with training first. I'd say training is the single most important It's all important, but training is extremely important, because even if your diet is spot on and perfect and your training stimulus is not there, remember, the training will stimulate your muscles to grow and the nutrition will facilitate it. So you need to make sure you're doing enough to tell your body to grow. So I'd say 10 to 20 hard sets. That's where most of the research points to. 10 to 20 hard sets per muscle group per week. And I would say those sets should be 1 to 2 reps, well, I would say 1 to 3 reps away from failure. So those would count as hard sets. And I would say that with nutrition, with energy needs, do not start in a deficit, do not start in a surplus, start at maintenance level. See how you go with maintenance first. That's what my whole other video was about. See how you go at maintenance first. Then if you're on the slimmer side or on the skinnier side, you can add maybe 5%. So go in a 5% surplus. If you're on the slightly overweight side and you want to lose, you've got more body fat to lose, you can go in a slight deficit, like 5 to 10%. Just play around with it. I'd say spend a bit of time at each level. So maintenance, spend a bit of time, 2 to 3 weeks of maintenance, then reassess, then spend another and if you decide you need to add some calories, say 5% of your maintenance, then what you want to do is you want to spend 2 to 3 weeks there and reassess. Keep monitoring your progress, see what is going on.
Tough guys don't do math. Tough guys deep fried chicken for a living.
And there's been enough emphasis around macros, but it's very important to get your macros right. When it comes to protein, I usually recommend 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. And that's where most of the research points to. But in the same study that Chris Barraquette done in 2020, actually found that people can benefit out of a bit more protein when doing a body recomposition. So what does a bit more protein look like? If you've got a lot of weight to lose, you're probably looking at about 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. And if you're on the slimmer side and you haven't got that much body fat to lose, then it's probably 1.2 to 1.4 grams per pound of body weight. Remember, you can play around with this range, but that's just what the research is saying thus far. And that's around 25 to around 35% of your calorie intake coming from protein. Then next up, we've got fat intake. Do not neglect fat intake. Fat is responsible for optimizing hormone production, also the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamins A, D, K. It's extremely important. So don't go below 25% on this, and don't go, it's not really necessary to go higher than 35% of your calories coming from fat when you're looking to optimize muscle gain. And then carbohydrates would be around 40 to 45%. Carbohydrates are extremely important. So make sure you're getting enough carbohydrates as well. Make sure you're getting enough sleep as well. Sleep's super important for recovery, for hormone optimization. If you're missing out on sleep, it could impair your testosterone, could increase cortisol and lower your strength output as well. A study by Knowles et al. In 2018 actually found that lack of sleep restriction had an impact on strength, mainly in compound lifts as well. It lowered the strength, and lowering the strength in compound lifts as well can have a knock-on effect on muscle building. So that's important to bear in mind. Aim for around 7 to 9 hours sleep a night. I know you're thinking sometimes life gets busy. If you miss one night, it's not the end of the world. And also just feeding nicely into that, make sure you manage your stress. Stuff like going for long walks, meditation, listening to music, petting an animal. Just look to manage stress wherever you can in your life, because excess stress, excess cortisol can interfere with your gains on quite a big level as well. I've done a video on stress a little while back, so you can click the link above to watch that if you want to know more about ways to lower stress and in turn likely increase testosterone. Anyway, that is all for this video on body recomposition. I could probably talk about this for hours. I will drop the papers in the description below if you want to take a deeper dive. But remember, it is possible to build muscle and lose body fat at the same time. Remember that. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a massive thumbs up. Also share it with someone you feel might find it interesting. This really does help the channel, and I'm looking to produce videos on a more regular basis now. I'd say once a week is manageable at the moment. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not yet subscribed. Until the next video, keep pushing those limits.